The Japanese cremate about 98%, and in most cases do not embalm, so they need a window that they can view the casket, since they just use the dry ice on the body.
Works that easy with somebody that's relatively small like Don is here, or if you have to have someone much larger.
For centuries, we have been acquiring knowledge about what causes death. Every religion, almost everybody, has a vision of the afterlife.
It is, in fact, a cremation urn and designed only to be a cremation urn. For one thing, you'll note that it's a one-piece, a bottom seal.
Volumes about the grieving process fill libraries. When to die and how to die is debated on television and in court.
And of course, the appeal is to present to the African American firms and African American families a bit of their culture.
But what's still almost never discussed is what really happens when you die. Not to your soul, to your remains.
This is our model ECP 200 electric cremation processor. We can reduce any set of human remains guaranteed below 200 cubic inches.
This program was made possible by grants from the National Funeral Directors Association, headquartered in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, serving the needs of funeral directors worldwide since 1882. DuPont BioWare, peace of mind in an unpredictable world. The Harleysville Insurance Companies, we know your business. S&S Coach Company and Superior Coaches, proudly serving the funeral professional continuously since 1876.
Did you ever think when the hearse rolls by that you may be the next to die? They wrap you up in a nice clean sheet and put you down about 6 feet deep. And all goes well for about a week, and then your coffin begins to leak. The worms crawl in, the worms crawl out. The worms play pinochle on your snout. They eat your clothes, they eat your hat. They crawl in skinny and crawl out fat.
Funerals for a period of time, a long period of time prior to World War I, were held in home. They were held in a combination funeral home, furniture store, or they were held a few were held in a public building.
If a person needed an operation, which could be performed in those days, it was done in the home. If a person was sick, he was sick at home where somebody could look after him. When you went to a hospital, it meant you had no family, no anything, and this was it.
When death was commonplace, people were much more used to it than they are today. It happened in their home. They really, if they wanted to, they couldn't get away from it. Now they can. Now they can. They just don't have to go to the hospital, or they just don't have to go to the extended care facility. And what happens is, with a lot of older people, and those are the people who are dying now, it's the most deaths are those 65 years of age or over. But out of sight, out of mind, out of mind, out of heart, they don't much care.
There were no funeral homes such as we understand them today. There were undertaking establishments, which were primarily offices for the transaction of business. They were in conjunction with a livery barn. They sometimes were in conjunction with a cabinet-making establishment, which included the ability to make coffins in addition to their normal furniture. The coffin was then brought home, person was put in the coffin after the individual had been washed and dressed in whatever clothing or manner they wanted for burial. Sometimes this was done by people who were professional layers out of the dead, most often women.
So maybe 200 years ago, they started to have establishments. And when an establishment was necessary, beyond the cabinet maker's facility for holding a funeral, or beyond the facility of the livery person, if in fact he had a facility, or beyond the cemetery where they wanted to have some sort of facility for a funeral service, that is when first the underwriter who underwrote the cost of the funeral, then came the undertaker who undertook to do for people what they didn't want to do for themselves, and then came the funeral director, embalmer.
We got the call a little bit more than an hour ago, and they asked if we would come out. They were ready for us, and so now we're waiting there with the family. The family's together with her right now, and they're going to let us know when they're ready for us to come in and be with them.
They wanted a little bit of an opportunity to be with her before we took her away.
So what's going through your head in a situation like this?
Did we make the right turns? Are we in the right direction?
Are we going to be lost and they're worried that we aren't going to get there? How difficult a removal will it be? Is it going to be someone that's on the second or third floor? Will there be spiral staircase? Will the person weigh 300 pounds? What kind of equipment am I going to need?
Are they waiting for us? How are they going to be when we get there?
Doc, the first thing we're going to do is open this.
After a long illness, this woman, Diane, died today in her daughter's apartment. Her soul has been released into the universe. These are her remains.
See if I can.
With the time, we won't make the deadline for tomorrow's papers, which means that the first time it will be in the newspaper will be for Tuesday. And the reason I'm telling you this is because it might have some bearing upon how, when